Am I romanticizing a previous era too much? Keep me honest on this, because I feel like where we are now is a team doesn't have a quarterback, and so they look at all of the veteran options who have been starters or have had a starting position, lost it, but we still look at them as start, like Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, that kind of thing, Aaron Rodgers. It seems like we're missing the Mike Holmgren going out and saying, okay, I'm going to bring in Matt Hasselbeck, who was a backup when I was in Green Bay. So I'm going to get that guy. Or Pete, it didn't work out. It worked out in Russell Wilson's favor. Pete Carroll saying, I'm going to bring in Matt Flynn to be my quarterback, but Russell Wilson beat him out. We're just looking for, and here's the best example, Ron Wolf. I'm going to give up a draft pick. I like this guy last year in the draft, this guy Brett Favre. I'm going to trade for him, and he's going to be my quarterback. Whatever happened to looking at some of the backups, younger backups in the league who you think have some potential, or backups in the league who are better than Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? For example, Kirk Cousins. Why not trade for Kirk Cousins? Why not go and look at, I know Rodney Harrison loves Hendon Hooker. I don't know if they like him or not. Malik Willis is a backup in Green Bay. Did a pretty good job in relief of Jordan Love. Why are we stuck in the 35-plus aisle, 35-plus generic aisle, and why not 25 to 32?
You know, you make an excellent point, and I'm thinking back of examples from past years where there's a guy who's never played, or he's played a little bit, and then he becomes guy that another team gets and grooms into their starter or makes their starter, and he's never really done it before, but the leap of faith is being taken that this guy can do it moving forward. When Sean Payton became head coach of the Saints in 2006, he had been with Bill Parcells in Dallas. First call he made wasn't to Drew Brees. First call he made was the Cowboys tried to trade for a guy named Tony Romo, an undrafted quarterback out of Directional, Illinois, that nobody had ever heard of. And I remember in 2004, somebody telling me, hey, they really like this kid named Romo. And I'm like, I've never heard of Romo. Who's Romo? And they really like him. And the Cowboys refused to trade him to Sean Payton because they knew what they had. And Drew Bledsoe got benched and Tony Romo came in, and that's the rest of the story. Scott Mitchell, when he played in 93 after Dan Marino popped his Achilles, like he became the free agent that everybody wanted, and the Lions got him, and he ended up not being quite what we thought. He had a couple of pretty good years. They had a high-flying, high-powered passing offense and Barry Sanders. But, yeah, where is that guy that, Tyrod Taylor was kind of that way. He was a backup in Baltimore to Joe Flacco. His contract expires, and then I think you go here, you go there. He went to Buffalo and became the starter. And where'd this guy come from? Well, he'd been a backup for a few years, and there's some familiarity and knowledge. And I agree with you. And I think why this has happened, Michael, it used to be in free agency, we didn't have a lot of quarterbacks with significant starting experience because their teams rarely, if ever, moved on from them. And it's been about 5 years. I think it was the year that Tom Brady left New England, that this new subset of free agency frenzy emerged where we got quarterbacks too. It used to be we didn't have quarterbacks. If you had a quarterback who checked the can he play box, you didn't get rid of him. And I don't know whether it's impatience. I don't know what's gotten us to this point. Maybe it's the contractual dynamic where, okay, this guy's up for a new deal. He wants way too much. We're just not going to give it to him because he's been our quarterback for X number of years. We're done. We're moving on. And where are we moving on to? Well, okay, we got two choices. We can try to make into a starter a guy who's never been a starter before, or we can sign a guy who's been a starter. So I think that's why that's ended. Because every year when the teams are looking for quarterbacks, They go after guy who has played, guy who has name recognition, and guy that we think can recapture whatever it was that had made him the year in and year out starter until his team got to the point where they decided they didn't want him anymore.
Yeah, guy who has name recognition, so there's that one. And so that's why the Giants, and I'll give them credit, they were in on Matthew Stafford when it looked like there was a chance. They were eager, and that was smart, eager to give Matthew Stafford the contract that he was looking for. So you have the Staffords, Wilsons, Winstons, Rodgers, that in, or, hey, a guy I've never seen do it before. It's a projection from college. So, hey, maybe we take a chance on Shedeur Sanders, or it's not going to happen, but if Cam Ward is there, we'll take Cam Ward too. And maybe we'll even investigate Jackson Dart and push him up the board all the way up to number 3. So it's really that extreme of veteran, hardcore veteran guy who's been around for a long time, or young guy just projecting. But I think that middle ground, a guy who's 27, 28, and never really had an opportunity. But maybe the flip side of it is he's 27, 28, never had an opportunity. There's a reason for that. He's where he's supposed to be. A guy who's just insurance, but we don't really trust him to get us through a game, let alone a season.
But that guy's never getting his chance now because the team is going to go with 35-ish veteran who's available for a reason. And I don't know whether this is the owner getting involved, the owner more comfortable selling to the fan base, someone the fans have heard of, because that is part of this. It still is a business. And you got to be able to sell to your fans that here's your starter. And it's somebody you've heard of. It's somebody you've seen. For the MetLife season ticket holders who qualified for tickets to Super Bowl 48, you might remember Russell Wilson from game when he won Lombardi Trophy. And that has no significance 12 years later, but at least it's some connection. Hey, Russell Wilson. Hey, we've heard of Russell Wilson. He came to New Jersey and won a Super Bowl when we played the Super Bowl here. All right, well, feel better about him than guy we've never heard of before who's been a backup for multiple years and is available for a reason. If backup is available for a reason and former starter is available for a reason, I'll take the starter who's available for a reason. So I think that's part of it. And also, we don't see that grooming of young guy who was, like a Tom Brady, when you come in as a first-round pick, there's extra pressure and attention that's always on you with that question of when is this guy going to play. If you're taken anywhere after really round 3 or later, there isn't that same presumption that at some point the guy's going to start. Even round 2, like with Jimmy Garoppolo, there was never a presumption. I mean, there was a kind of a vague, what's Belichick up to, and is there and there ultimately was some sort of Shakespearean drama playing out between the Kraft camp and the Belichick camp and Brady and Garoppolo until Garoppolo got handed to the 49ers. I don't know, maybe in hindsight it was a curse, not a blessing. That's a different story altogether. But we just don't see that guy who has been allowed to quietly develop behind the scenes, and now we're ready. We're ready to go with guy who's been here for 3 years, and only the hardcore fans know about him. He's our starting quarterback. You're right. That just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, just waiting for that guy, that guy who has been developed and he's looking for his opportunity. And maybe it's a stretch, but the name that has come up lately is Joe Milton. Okay, Joe Milton III with the Patriots. He had a good game, in quotes, a good game end of the year where the Patriots, Patriots ownership didn't want them to win it, and then the Bills didn't necessarily want to win it either because they wanted the Patriots. They were going back and forth. It was really the Bills were trying to get the Patriots to win. Patriots ownership wanted them to lose so they get the number 1 pick. And behind it all was Joe Milton, who actually looked like a pretty good quarterback that day. So will somebody look at Joe Milton and say, hey, we could develop him. He could, there's some rough edges there, but I look at that raw talent. It generally doesn't happen with guys like that.
There's so much drama that
used to all the time.
There's so much drama that plays out on the final Sunday of the regular season that certain things get forgotten and overlooked. And there was a very real belief that the Bills did not want to win that game because they did not want the Patriots to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
That's right. I can see it, Mike. It's real. I don't care what they say. They didn't want to win. They did not want to. Oh,
and Joe Milton's
really
name,
funny.
I've seen Joe Milton's name come up as a potential trade target for the Steelers as they try to figure out what they're doing. The Giants could have gotten into the Joe Milton thing, but I think it all comes down to the whole, what can you sell to your fan base? I don't think we can overlook that. Look, if my theory is accurate, that owners who claim they want to win the Super Bowl every year are just saying what they have to say because they're trying to sell their product to the fan base. And I think it's naive if we think that, and it's like telling years ago when I was a pro wrestling fan, when my dad would tell me it's fake, I would get upset with him even though I knew it was fake. I didn't want to hear it. Football fans don't want to hear it's a business. They don't want to hear that. They want to think of it as this pure endeavor, then everybody's trying to win, and my team's trying to win. My team's not counting money. My team is counting wins. And part of the business of it is you need to get people excited about your team. And I think that has contributed to something that I hadn't thought of. And this is why I love doing this show. We talk through things. We're just shooting the shit. Sorry, everyone. And we come up with something that I would have never thought of. But I think it's brilliant. We have evolved past the grooming of young quarterbacks into future starters because there are now every year there's even if it's just bread and even if it's just milk, there are other options that we've heard of before. It's not just the ingredients for the bread. It's not just the cow parked out in the barn. We have the finished product. We have heard of this. It might not be great, but at least we've heard of it. So that may be why there was a market ultimately for Russell Wilson, because I felt like there wasn't even going to be a market for him for a starter. And you look at the contract, and it really does make him vulnerable to getting Kirk Cousins by the New York Giants.
Brett, we know the Russell Wilson aisle. He's in the mainstream aisle. We've seen that before with all the packaging and all the colors. And okay, I know that. But remember, you said you had bread, you had milk. Do you remember the snacks? The snacks in the generic aisle, like the chip, their knockoff Fritos, which were actually pretty good. But it goes along with the quarterback thing. It's pretty good. It's in the generic aisle. You wouldn't think it would be good, but those who know. And I guess most fans are like, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. This is I don't want the generic stuff. I'd rather have Jameis Winston and the entertainment. Jameis Winston saying, Lord, deliver me from pick sixes. I can laugh at that. I know what to expect there, as opposed to some guy in the weeds, third or fourth round. He's thrown 18 passes in the last 3 years. I'm not buying it. Give me the mainstream thing.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.